Hello, I am Carrie Banks, the Volunteer Services Manager for Postpartum Support International, and PSI Georgia has invited me here to speak with you about PSI Support Coordinators. And I'm happy to do that. If you were listening in previously during the Facebook Live version of this, I was in the middle of a thunderstorm, and apparently I was very pixelated and the video cut off before I was finished speaking. So we're going to try it again and hopefully we'll get through this time. So I'm happy to be here tonight to talk to you about PSI Support Coordinators. And to start off, I want to tell you just a little bit about Postpartum Support International. PSI is the world's leading organization dedicated to helping people suffering from perinatal mood and anxiety disorders like postpartum depression. And we do that in a variety of ways. Our universal message is you are not alone, you are not to blame, and with help you will be well. And the support coordinator is really an important part of that. And I'm going to tell you more about how support coordinators help. So what does PSI do? We provide direct peer support to people who are suffering. So we do that in a variety of ways, from our online support groups, our closed Facebook group. We have chat with an experts. We have a bunch of different ways for people who are currently suffering or people who are survivors to interface and get peer support. We also train professionals. We have a lot of different training opportunities and scholarships available, and you can go on postpartum.net to learn about those. But so going back, we provide direct peer support, we train professionals, and we provide a bridge to connect the two. And that's really important if you've ever been suffering yourself and you're just looking through your insurance booklet to try to find the right person to help you. You know that it can be overwhelming and it can be daunting. So it's really our support coordinators that provide that bridge between the people who need help and the people who can offer help. So you provide that bridge to get people the resources that they need. So support coordinators are listed on our website, postpartum.net. We have them in the United States and Canada and a lot of other countries worldwide, but most of them are in the United States. And the way that you find them is you go to our website, postpartum.net, and you click Get Help, and a drop-down will appear, and you click Get Help dash, what is it called? Dash Find Local Resources. So that will bring you to a map of the United States, and you can click on your state. If you're not in the United States, on that same page with the map, so the Get Help, Find Local Resources, there's on the upper left-hand side, there is a place that says International, Find International Help, and you click there, and a list of all the countries, around 40 countries that we have support coordinators in will appear, and you can pick the country that you're in. If you do not see your country listed, please call our helpline and let us know that you are looking for help in a country where a coordinator is not listed. And you can call the helpline by calling 1-800-944-4PPD and leave a message, and one of our trained helpline volunteers will get back in touch with you quickly. So, what do coordinators do? You are trained, they are trained. How presumptuous am I that you're going to listen to this and want to be a support coordinator? But our support coordinators are trained volunteers that have a list of resources. So PSI or equivalent trained resources in perinatal mental health. They might be doulas, they might be lactation consultants, behavioral health professionals, psychiatrists, so any type of resource that someone in the perinatal period trying to conceive, pregnancy, postpartum, any type of resources that someone in that population might need, we task our coordinators with having that information for the area that they cover. So we list their information on our website, and anyone can get in touch with them. It might be someone who's currently suffering. It might be their partner. It might be a grandmother, grandfather. I was once contacted by a landlord who was worried about a tenant who thought that they needed help. So you never know who's going to contact you, but you're really put out there as a resource, as someone who knows about perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. You might be contacted by your local hospital, your local health department, the media occasionally, but you're really out there as an ambassador for Postpartum Support International. And yeah, you can be contacted at any time. We are not a crisis helpline. They're not obligated to pick up the phone 24 hours a day, but we do task our support coordinators with returning calls or texts or emails within 24 hours. So they can offer that direct peer support to tell someone you're not alone, this is not your fault, this is an illness, and we're gonna get you some help. So that is what our support coordinators do, and they're really the heart and soul of PSI, and we're so proud of them. And yeah, we just love them. And I manage the program in the US and Canada. Our executive director, Wendy Davis, manages the support coordinators in other countries, but either of us would be happy to talk with you more about them. So one thing, I have some questions over here from PSI Georgia, so that's why I keep looking over here. One thing that we really want people to know about support coordinators is that they're a safe place to reach out for help. Folks are often afraid to admit that they're having depression or anxiety around childbirth. Maybe they haven't told anyone yet about how they're feeling. And a PSI support coordinator is really a safe place for you to come and share how you're feeling. I think we've all seen in the news a couple months ago, a woman in California went to her doctor and disclosed that she was feeling irritability and rage. Maybe she mentioned some intrusive, unwanted thoughts, and the next thing she knew, the police were there. And the person who made that call to the police really wasn't trained in perinatal mental health, because if they had been, they would have known that that person was not a danger to herself or to her baby, and they would have been better able to assess that situation. So we train our volunteers to do just that, to understand, is the situation a crisis, is it not, and then appropriately refer for either crisis intervention or for treatment. So like I said earlier, we're not crisis management. We're not a 24-hour hotline. We operate a helpline, and that's how a lot of people find our PSI support coordinators. And so a lot of our calls that we have come to us from the helpline. And so the helpline may have done some of that initial peer support and normalizing of the experience that the person is going through, and then they do a warm handoff to the local support coordinator so that you can tell them about trained professionals in your area. You can let them know about the mom meetups. You know, isolation is a real problem, so our coordinators really encourage folks, if they're able, to get out and socialize. But we're really, we're not medical professionals per se. We don't diagnose. What we do is we offer peer support and we refer to treatment. Another question is, what do I look for in a coordinator? So in a coordinator, I look for someone who is non-judgmental, who will listen openly and say, thank you for telling me that. I'm so glad you called. We're going to get you some help. I need a coordinator to commit to a 24-hour turnaround. So people might contact you through telephone, email, or text, and if you commit to return that message 24 hours, within 24 hours. And another thing that I look for is that someone is fully recovered. A lot of us come to this work because we are survivors ourselves, and we don't want anyone to be lost in the dark like maybe we were. We want to be able to help people find help as quickly as possible. So I get a lot of applications from people who are survivors, and I really want to make sure that they're fully recovered and that they're thriving, because sometimes the things that we hear are upsetting, and or you know, we all have big hearts and we can all empathize. And if you're fully recovered and thriving, then that's good. You can handle that and you're ready to help. If you are still in your recovery process, that might be difficult for you. So we do interviews. Myself and some other members of our volunteer services committee do interviews with applicants to make sure that those people are fully recovered. And if they're not, we have lots of different roles within PSI that people can do that maybe aren't as difficult as the coordinator role, because the coordinator role is very personal, very one-on-one, and that's not for everybody. And also the 24-hour turnaround isn't for everyone. Some people have jobs where they work 12-hour shifts, and it may really just not be possible to get back in touch with people within 24 hours. Another thing I look at when people apply to be a coordinator is the area that they're applying in. Does that area need an additional coordinator? A place like Atlanta may or may not need another coordinator. I would ask the existing Atlanta coordinators what they thought about that. But if the applicant brought something new to the table, like if they were a military veteran or maybe a postpartum psychosis survivor or maybe a person of color, then that might make them a good fit, because we want to have someone in the community that everyone feels comfortable and safe coming to. So those are the things that I look at in a support coordinator application. You see the other questions that we got. So the way that you apply, we do have an application process, and you can email me at cbanks@postpartum.net, and we'll add that in the comments here after we post this video. Another question that we got during the Facebook Live was, what is the term for a support coordinator? And there isn't necessarily like a 2-year term, like you're going to be a support coordinator for 2 years and then step off. It's really open-ended, and you can be a support coordinator for as long as it fits your schedule and your family's schedule, and as long as you find fulfillment doing this work. We have people who have been doing this for 20, 15, 10 years. I'm not saying that everyone has to do that, but it's a possibility. So there is no set term for this. It's very open-ended. Another question that we got is, what happens when you go on vacation? So all of our support coordinators are volunteers, and we recognize that you have lives and that you're giving of your free time. So it's totally acceptable and encouraged for you to take leave. And when you do that, you just email me and let me know that you're going to be gone from this day to this day, and I mark you as on leave on our website. So that alerts the public, and that also alerts our helpline volunteers that you're not available for calls at that time. And we really do encourage that. The work that we do can be difficult, and we want people to take care of themselves and practice good self-care. Another question that we got is, how many hours per week do support coordinators work? And that varies really widely. We have some areas of the country, like Los Angeles, that are very busy, and our support coordinators get calls every single week. We have other areas of the country that are not so busy for various reasons, be it population density or maybe stigma keeps people from reaching out. But we have coordinators that go weeks without getting any calls. So the ones that are busy stay busy doing their calls and their callbacks. The ones who are not as busy as they would like to be do active outreach to local OBs and midwives and pediatricians' offices and public health departments. So that's not a requirement of the job. The only requirement of the role is that you make yourself available. You go through our 2-hour orientation and then the 24-hour turnaround and keeping track of resources. But for those coordinators who are not as busy as they would like to be, they can do outreach, and we help them by providing brochures, providing templates for business cards. We have PowerPoints that we can train them to go out and do in their community. So how many hours a week? That's really a hard question to answer. Depends on a lot of factors, and it also depends on you, on how busy you want to be. And then we had a question about how our support coordinators trained for crisis situations. So crisis situations are rare. They don't happen often, but we do train our coordinators during our 2-hour mandatory orientation. They are trained in how to identify and what to do in a crisis situation. And I'm not going to get into all of it, but just to say that there's training involved and there is support involved. You know, we say you are not alone, and we mean that for people who are currently suffering, and we also mean that for our volunteers. They're not alone. They can reach out to me, our executive director, our office manager, Leanne Swanson, to each other. So the crisis situations are rare, but when they happen, we know what to do, and everyone's well supported. So those were the questions that I got last night. And I think those are all the things that I wanted to cover. PSI Georgia has a list of areas where they would like to have support coordinators, and they're going to list that in the comments below this video. And anyone else in, coordinators in other states or other state chapters, if you want to list areas where you would like to have coordinators under the comments under this video, that would also be great. Again, if you're interested in being a coordinator or if you yourself need help, please reach out. If you want to find your coordinator because you want help, please go to postpartum.net, click on Get Help, and then click on Get Help, Find Local Resources, and choose your state. If that is difficult for you, you can call the helpline at 1-800-944-4PPD and get help that way. Please reach out. You really aren't alone. You are not to blame, and you can be well again. We will help you find the help that you need. We say it all the time, but we really, really mean it. If you are someone who is recovered or who is interested in this work and would like to become a support coordinator, reach out to me at cbanks@postpartum.net, and I'd be happy to send you an application. And I also want to let you know that the next Facebook Live that PSI Georgia will be doing is July 31st at 9 p.m. Eastern, and the topic will be risk factors that can lead to perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. So really important topic, and I'm glad PSI Georgia is doing this and spreading the word. So thank you so much. I really appreciated talking with you, and I'm here, or you can reach out to PSI Georgia if you have any more questions. Thanks so much.